The room went dead silent. My 1-month-old son was lying helpless on the changing mat. And my girlfriend's friend leaned back in his chair and said, "I can't wait to watch you change his nappy." That was the exact moment my instincts screamed that something was wrong. And what I did next made sure he would never be around my child again. If you're a parent, or even someone who trusts their gut when something feels off, this story is going to hit hard, so hit like, subscribe, and settle in, because this isn't just a revenge story. This is about protecting the one thing that matters most. I became a father just 1 month ago. And I don't mean this lightly. Those first weeks completely rewired my brain. Every cry, every tiny stretch of his fingers, every time he fell asleep on my chest, life felt perfect, calm, purposeful. Friends and family came over constantly. Everyone wanted to meet him, and I loved it. I loved seeing people smile at him, hold him gently, whisper little hellos like he could already understand them. Until that day, one of my girlfriend's friends, let's call him Dan, came over. I didn't know him well. He wasn't someone I'd ever hang out with alone. But he was part of her friend group, and nothing about had ever set off alarms before. At first, everything seemed normal. We were sitting in the living room. Open plan layout. Couch, coffee table. Changing mat laid out nearby. My son started fussing. My girlfriend smiled and said, "Oh, he needs changing." I stood up immediately. Got it. As I picked up my son, this tiny, fragile human who trusts me with his entire existence, I felt proud, calm, focused. Then Dan said it, "I can't wait to watch you change his nappy." The words didn't just land wrong, they sank. It was like my stomach dropped through the floor. The room went quiet for half a second too long. My girlfriend laughed awkwardly and said, "You're such a weirdo." She laughed it off, but I didn't. Something inside me tightened. That deep, ancient instinct that doesn't speak in words, it warns. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't suddenly stop. I couldn't accuse him without proof. And the room was completely open. So I did the only thing I could. I hunched over my son. I angled my body like a shield. I made absolutely sure there was no line of sight. My heart was pounding in my ears. As I was changing him, I noticed movement in my peripheral vision. Dan stood up. He casually walked closer. My hands started shaking. I moved faster. New nappy on. Done. I didn't even look up. I picked my son up and walked straight to my girlfriend. Placing him in her arms, then sat directly beside her, close enough that no one could come near him without stepping into my space. I acted normal. I smiled. I nodded. But inside, I was on fire. The moment Dan left, the words came out of me like a dam breaking. "I'm not comfortable with him being around our son anymore." She looked surprised. "Why?" I repeated his comment. She shrugged. "Oh, he says weird stuff all the time. I think he's just a bit autistic." That hit me like a slap. I told her calmly, but firmly, that it was my son too, and that my instincts were screaming at me. That the tone wasn't innocent. That it wasn't normal. She rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic." That's when something inside me snapped. Not rage, resolve. That night, while she slept, I didn't. I replayed the moment over and over. His tone. His timing. The way he stood up, so I did what any protective parent would do. I started asking questions, carefully. Quietly, I spoke to mutual friends. I framed it casually. "Hey, has Dan ever said anything that made you uncomfortable?" The answers came faster than I expected. Awkward jokes, boundary-crossing comments, staring too long, making people uneasy, but never enough for anyone to say something. Until now, I documented everything. Dates, exact quotes. Who said what. Then I sat my girlfriend down. I didn't yell, I didn't accuse. I showed her, one message at a time, one story at a time. I watched her face change, confusion, defensiveness, then realization, and finally fear. She tried to speak. I stopped her gently. "This isn't about labels. This isn't about excuses. This is about our son, and my job is to protect him, even if that means being the bad guy." The next day, boundaries were set. Dan was told, clearly, that he was no longer welcome in our home. No explanations, no debates. He didn't take it well. He messaged, he complained, he played the victim. But it didn't matter. Because here's the thing about real revenge: it's quiet, it's firm, and it doesn't need applause. Weeks passed, no Dan, no tension, no unease. Just peace. One night, my girlfriend looked at me while our son slept between us and said softly, "Thank you for trusting your instincts." That was the payoff. Not humiliation, not chaos, safety. Knowing that someone who crossed a line would never get another chance to do it again, I didn't need to ruin him, I removed him. Sometimes justice isn't loud, sometimes it's not flashy. Sometimes it's just a parent listening to that quiet voice that says, something isn't right, and choosing to act. No matter who doubts you. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button. Drop a comment below, would you have trusted your instincts? And make sure you subscribe for more powerful Reddit stories where justice always finds a way. Because some lines should never be crossed.